Dice Throne as a whole has many areas you can improve on, and when you start playing the game at first, it does seem super easy, but when you start diving in and trying to get into the competitive scene and really start improving, you realize real quickly there's a lot of different things you can improve on, and there's a lot of things to look at. So we're going to go over today what are the top things to look at, what's going to make you better faster, and what you should be focusing on as a newer player or even a veteran player. What are the most important aspects? Now for my first tip, this is the single biggest tip I can give a new player, and that is pick 3 characters out of the 35 unique characters that Dice Throne has, soon to be 39, and play just those 3. Because this is going to help you not feel overwhelmed and not be intimidated by the game. Because as soon as you step into the Dice Throne kind of competitive world, you're going to realize there's a lot of characters to learn the intricacies of. You're going to want to learn their personal cards, their play styles, their role objectives, when you should and shouldn't go in on them, things like that. And when you're a new player, it's a lot. So picking your main 3 that you want to play and getting good at those can do a couple of things. One, makes your learning process a lot easier. You're learning 3, not 35 different characters, okay? The other side of it too is if you pick 3 characters that you really enjoy and really like and you keep playing them, you're going to have so much more fun with the game than trying to learn 35 characters, especially when maybe half of them you don't enjoy playing or you don't enjoy learning about. So pick 3, stick with 3. And now the secondary tip I'm going to give, this one's going to seem obvious, but it is always important to say in videos like this, play more games. All right, you can do all the studying in the world, you can do all the number crunching in the world. It doesn't matter if you're not comfortable with the game, because I promise, even if you memorize exactly what you want to roll down to the T, as soon as you are on a 30-minute timer and you're sitting across from someone who's playing really quickly and is putting a lot of pressure on you fast, you're gonna get nervous. You're a human. So if you haven't played enough games and gotten enough reps to actually be ready to use the knowledge that you have, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter how much you've learned. It's not going to matter how well you've studied, okay? So the biggest tip besides the pick 3 is just play more games, because that is how you are going to build the most comfort the quickest. All right, so you've picked your 3, you've played some games, and now we're getting into the stuff that even maybe kind of your mid-range players are going to want to hear. One of the main things you're going to want to start studying, if you really want to learn Dice Throne, you really want to get good, are going to be your roll trees. Now, what do I mean by that? Basically, this comes down to 2 main factors. 1, what do you want to roll for, right? Let's use the simple example of Pyromancer. If you're not aware, Pyromancer has an ability called Combustion, wherein which you spend your resources to do a big, undefendable kaboom on a person, all right? Super effective, super strong. However, using it turn 1 is not ideal. So if you first roll a Combustion on turn 1 of the game with Pyromancer, get away from it. Try to roll something else. It's a little silly to keep that, okay? Because it's just not going to do enough for you. It's not going to generate enough value for turn 1 of the game. Similarly, whenever you are learning what to roll for, you want to learn how to roll for it. And that's kind of part 2 of this idea. And that is realizing that not all rolls are created equal. And this was in my 5 tips video, but it's basically the idea of, let's say you have the option and you're rolling for Combustion for Pyromancer to keep the, same idea here. If you have the option to keep a 1 or a 3 die, you want to keep that 3 die because that can hit in every single straight. Every small straight, every large straight is going to include a 3. So instead of keeping that 1 for the Combustion, keep the 3 for the Combustion, right? It's kind of simple concepts like this that you really want to start to get good at and master because you want to maximize your odds during your roll phases. Sometimes the dice won't be in your favor, and that's okay. But if you're increasing your odds and you're giving yourself the best chance, you're gonna just start to win more games naturally. It just makes sense. So please, 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 if you want to be a good Dice Throne player, start learning your roll trees. Now, the second thing in Dice Throne that you're going to do a lot besides rolling dice is playing cards, and that is the second most important thing to start learning. Now, there's a few caveats to this. One, the reason this is, in my opinion, less important than learning your dice trees is 1, it's typically easier to learn your dice trees, and 2, you use those dice trees every single game, whereas the cards, while you use the cards every game, you're not going to have the access to the same cards every single game, right? Maybe someone like Shadow Thief could be argued because they're going to be drawing their entire deck every game, but for someone like a Pyromancer or a Barbarian or anyone in that kind of category that doesn't have a whole lot of economy, isn't going to see their whole deck. Now, when it comes to learning cards, you're going to want to do this in a specific order. If you are not aware, in Dice Throne, characters have pre-built decks. There's no actual deck customization in this game. And some of the cards are pre-made or the same in everyone's deck. These are going to be cards like So Wild, Twice as Wild, Tippet, things of this nature. These cards are cards that everybody has. Learn these first, because that is going to help you with not just your favorite character, but your other two characters as well. And it's going to help you against literally every person you play against, because everyone has these cards, okay? So learning these main staples are super, super crucial. When to use them, how to use them, how much value they should be worth, all that kind of stuff. Now, once you start to get that down, you're going to move into your character-specific cards. And going back to the first tip, focus on your three. Focus on your three characters that you're going to be bringing to tournaments and learn their cards. Learn what they do, learn how cost-efficient they are, learn which ones are permacells. This is going to sound a little goofy, but there are some cards in the game that just aren't worth their value. And this is going to sound weird, but stick with me here. If a card costs 2 CP, whenever you play it, think of it as losing 3 CP, which sounds a little silly, but the reason being is you're paying 2 CP for the card, and you're also giving up 1 CP that you could have had for selling it. When you start looking at cards this way and you realize, oh, playing that So Wild kind of cost me 3 CP, you start to realize that you might be wasting a ton of combat points on cards that you don't need to be playing. So again, to kind of reel it back in and get back to it, learn the mainstay cards, learn the staples that are in everyone's deck. Once you are comfortable with those and you know them, start to learn your 3 characters' cards specifically. Learn what they do, what you should be looking for, what you're happy to see, what you're not happy to see. Now, getting into a tip that I think is weirdly undervalued and actually not discussed enough in the Dice Throne scene, and that is learning your good and bad matchups. At the end of the day, Dice Throne is a game of percentages, odds, and chances, and you're trying to press your luck or push those odds to be as much in your favor as possible. What else is putting odds more in your favor than picking a winning matchup from the very beginning of the game? And I think this is one of those things that can make or break a good run whenever you go to a local tournament or something like that. If you don't know your good and bad matchups for your 3 characters, and you sit down in front of someone that knows their good and bad matchups in and out, they're probably going to ban the more logical character, and you might just ban one you're scared of. You're now maybe stuck in a situation where he can go first, pick a character, and he's put you in a spot where no matter what, he has a better matchup, and on top of it gets to go first, which is people estimate to be about a 5% more likely to win when you go first. Now that, that stat is debatable, whatever, but roughly, if they have 5% more likely to win from going first, and it's 55-45, then on top of it, let's say their matchup is just 5% better, which doesn't sound crazy. They have already, from the start of the game, put themselves at a 60-40 advantage to win, and y'all haven't even started the game yet, right? That's crazy. And this is a super easy thing to do. So look at your 3 characters, start to look at their bad matchups. This can be done a few different ways. Some of it's just going to be purely fuel. Maybe there's a character that you play against that you really feel like is a tough matchup for you specifically. You can start by banning them. Then eventually, as you get more comfortable and you kind of even out to start to become a better player, start looking at stats, start looking at some of the online tournament records, and start to see, okay, this character maybe regularly performs badly against this character that I have. I should try to play against them more. Or vice versa, you see your characters getting beat by a different character quite often, and you can, maybe start banning them more, however you want to look at it. This is a super crucial thing that I think is not discussed enough that can genuinely just turn odds in your favor again before you start rolling dice, which is really good. Now, once you have done this and you have most of these previous tips down for your 3 characters, up next is learning other characters. And I'm sure y'all could have guessed this, obviously. And for learning other characters, what I would say is, what do you want to be successful in? If you want to be super successful in your locals and you want to start winning a lot of those events and tournaments, start learning characters that you see often. Let's say 10 people go to your locals and 8 of them bring Barbarian. Learn Barbarian, because you're going to see that character a lot. If at your locals nobody brings Gunslinger, then don't learn Gunslinger if your goal is to beat your locals and really start crushing that tournament, right? So think about that. Think about your opponents when starting to learn other characters and choosing who you want to start learning. The other thing to possibly think about is just who is on average good, right? Let's say you see 8 barbarians at your tournament, but one guy brings Shadow Thief, and that one Shadow Thief player is really, really good with Shadow Thief. If that is the case, then learn Shadow Thief first, maybe, if you want to like truly be the best player, or if you want to learn your problematic matchups, right? And then finally, let's say you want to like really start to play some of the online events and play with people more across the globe. If that's the case, what I would recommend is just learning the top tier characters, right? So you can look at different tier lists. Maybe you have your own judgments as to, who's S tier, who's A tier, that kind of thing. If that is your goal and you want to play at a more like, global scale and play online, start learning your top characters, right? Learn your pyromancers, learn your shadow thieves, learn your cursed pirates, learn these characters that are consistently good that a lot of people think are strong, because you're going to more than likely see a lot of those, because higher tier players will tend to lean more towards higher tier characters. Not always, but most of the time that's what you're going to see. Now, before I let you go, as a final tip, I would highly recommend to stop getting frustrated over bad RNG or bad rolls. And hey, I'm going to be honest, this is a tip that I don't follow very well myself, and maybe something I need to work on internally. But in Dice Throne, you're rolling dice. That is what you are doing every single turn, all right? It doesn't stop. You roll dice, you pick up the ones you want to keep, you re-roll the ones you don't want to keep, right? And it's random, right? You have a 1 in 6 chance of hitting that exact face you want most of the time, unless you're looking for someone, whatever. So don't get upset. As soon as you start to get frustrated over bad rolls, bad card draws, maybe your opponent is getting really lucky, maybe they nat ult you on turn 1 or 2, the game is not over. Okay, and I know it may feel like it is sometimes. It feels really gross when they natural ult you turn 1 or 2 and you're just at such a deficit. Don't stop playing. Because again, the game has a lot of RNG in it. There's a lot of ways to control that RNG, but there is a lot of RNG. Just because your opponent natural ults you that turn 1, turn 2, that doesn't mean their turn 3 is going to be a natural whiff and they just can't hit anything they need. So my biggest tip I can give, and this goes for everybody, try to withhold bad feelings about unlucky rolls or unlucky situations. And you will be surprised at how much better you can be as a player when you avoid getting frustrated at these things. So there you have it, your 100% factual, no doubt, no gap way to improve at Dice Throne. Hopefully y'all found something helpful here, even some of the more veteran players. And if you're new, I hope this kind of gives you an idea of what you should start looking for to get better at the game. If you have more ideas, leave them down in the comments. If maybe some of the things I said you think can be improved or built upon, drop it down. There's going to be hopefully some players watching this that want to get better, so the more we can give them, the more advice we can give, the better we can make the community, the better we can all get at Dice Throne, the game we love. But I hope y'all enjoyed, and I will see y'all on the next one. Peace out.